In the SpaceX IPO last Thursday, institutional pro-rata holders thought they had pro-rata. They didn't. Some of them got cut down to less than a third of what their contract said they were entitled to. And here is the part that should worry everyone listening. Every single one of them signed the same standard pro-rata language you'd find in a clean Series B term sheet. Here's the question we're going to leave open for the next 10 minutes. If your pro-rata rights don't actually protect you in the round where it matters most, what exactly did you negotiate for?
I'm Drew. This is The Syndicate Room, produced by Val from AdValorem. And before we go further, a note. This is AI-generated commentary. We use it to compress hours of S1 reading into a tight conversation. Treat it as education, not advice. Maybe at 3 a.m., maybe after payroll, maybe right after you wired the check, you read the side letter and you felt better. You had pro-rata. You were protected. Except, and this is the part nobody tells you when you're signing, pro-rata is a contract right against the company. It is not a contract right against the offering structure.
Pro-rata gives you the right to buy your percentage of new shares the company issues in a primary financing. It does not give you any right at all to the IPO allocation. It does not give you any right to the secondary tender. It does not give you any right to the staggered lockup tranches.
You wrote the early check, you took the early risk, and in the round that decides whether you actually got paid, your pro-rata didn't matter. Now here's where we pivot, because the same disclosure that exposed pro-rata as fiction also told you exactly what mechanism does work, and it's been hiding in plain sight in every S1 for the last 15 years.
Let me say that again, slowly. The mechanism that protects pre-IPO holders in the IPO is not pro-rata. It is contractual IPO allocation written into the round documents as a specific dollar reserve or a specific share count. Pro-rata is a math formula. IPO allocation is a guaranteed seat. The early stage protections you've been taught to negotiate, pro-rata, anti-dilution, MFN, were designed for a world where the company eventually goes public on a standard timeline with standard mechanics. That world is gone. SpaceX has a 9-tranche staggered lockup. OpenAI just filed a confidential S1. Anthropic is targeting October. None of these IPOs will look like a 2018 IPO. And the protections you're carrying forward from 2018 do not cover the structures you're walking into in 2026.
And the worst part is, you won't know until the IPO prices. By then, it's too late to renegotiate. But, and this is the pivot, once you understand what's actually protective, you can negotiate for the right thing on the next round, which is exactly what the next 2 minutes of this episode is for.
4 things to do on your next mega round subscription document. Number 1, ask for an explicit IPO allocation carve-out, written as a dollar number or share count, not as a percentage right. Percentage rights get cut. Specific dollar reserves don't. The language you want sounds like, holder shall be entitled to purchase no less than X dollars of shares at the IPO offering price. That's the protective language. Number 2, negotiate a staggered lockup tier assignment up front. In SpaceX, the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 3 release was about 120 days of float exposure. That's the difference between exiting at the day 1 pop and exiting after the float has tripled.
Number 3, ask for tender offer participation rights as a separate document, not bundled into pro-rata. Pre-IPO tenders, Hive, Forge, EquityZen, those are private liquidity events that pro-rata doesn't touch. If you want guaranteed seller access in the tenders, you have to negotiate it separately. 4 moves. None of them require a bigger check. All of them require asking the right question before you wire. And every one of them is free to negotiate before the round closes and impossible to renegotiate after.
Here's the historical parallel. In 1999,
The venture funds that did best in the dot-com IPO wave were not the funds with the cleanest pro-rata language. They were the funds whose senior partners had personal relationships with the underwriting syndicate desks at Goldman, Morgan Stanley, and Credit Suisse First Boston. The funds that adapted, they didn't just live through the cycle, they bought their competitors. They emerged with the books that became the great venture franchises of the next 20 years.
And the parallel today is exactly the same. The mega-round investors who will own the next decade are not the ones with the best pro-rata side letters. They're the ones who learned from watching SpaceX that the structural protections need to be renegotiated for a world where the IPO mechanics no longer match the playbook you were trained on.
We also run a Discord community for people who want to compare notes on what they're seeing in their own subscription documents. Anonymized, peer-reviewed, education first. Link is discord.gg/GERGTP9GTS. And if you want to apply to the community of allocators we work with, that's at tidycal.com/AdValorem/syndicate.
That's the episode. If you got value from it, share it with one other allocator. The smaller the circle of people who understand what mega-round mechanics actually look like in 2026, the more edge there is in being inside that circle. Position before you predict. We'll see you Thursday.